I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P, and you're watching the Cartoon Palooza. Just last week, I did the unimaginable. I went to a YouTube video, commented in the section, and lo and behold, got into an argument. Almost a week ago, the teaser trailer for the live-action version of Full Metal Alchemist hit the web. After seeing it, I got excited about all the possibilities the movie can take. One of those things with the character Armstrong, and whether or not he's gonna be in the movie. I commented below the video on how cool it would be to see how they adapt Armstrong from the cartoon. I got quite the reaction. Some people agreed with me, and other people did something I did not expect at all. After I left that comment, more people were frustrated with the fact that I referred to Full Metal Alchemist as a cartoon, something I had no recollection or understanding as to why people would get frustrated about that. Were there people that would go to great lengths to make sure I call Full Metal Alchemist an anime? Needless to say, I was talking about this character.
Greetings, Edward Elric. When I heard you were in the hospital, I dashed right over!
You can't get more over the top and silly than that. And this brings me to today's editorial. Is anime a cartoon? Honestly, the short answer is yes, but based on the arguments that I had, I'm gonna go look at both sides. The biggest thing that comes up to a lot of people is the audience. You use cartoon when you describe work that panders to children, while anime panders to adults. Well, more specifically in America, animation's utilized majority of the time for family-friendly material to the point where it gets labeled as a genre versus medium, which I discuss in another editorial. For Japan, the majority of the time, animation is catered for adults, featuring material for older audiences and dark themes that children aren't expected to get. I can agree with this to a certain degree. It represents the vast majority, but not everything. There are American cartoons that don't apply to just kids, but deal with adult material, while Japanese cartoons focus on family-friendly material. Because we get so used to seeing a popular trend persist in one way, we forget the movies and shows that are just as good and effective that we happen to forget they exist. Take female action heroes, for example. We forget they exist when most of what we see are men. This goes to the second part of the argument between Japanese animation and American animation, the style. If it's Japanese, it must feature a specific type of animation process with bubbly eyes, limited motion 90% of the time, and the occasional WTF did I just watch moment. If it's American, it must have appealing characters, fluid motion, and concepts of death, physics, and overall logic thrown out the window. But like I mentioned before, this is not the same for everything. It just so happens that the majority reflects these common tropes and styles. Ironically, when we refer to movies by Studio Ghibli as anime, Miyazaki gets frustrated since the majority of what passes for anime does not reflect the work he does, and he stated that in interviews before. For the American side, Disney's style has had a profound effect in that every studio either wanted to be like Disney or train under the Disney style. The people that knew the process of animation in America has had some connection to the Disney style of filmmaking. Books were published by Disney animators, material to animate like drawing desks come out of Burbank, California where the studio is, and really challenge yourself to find an animation director in any studio other than Disney who doesn't come from CalArts, a school that Disney funded to help train animators. While that's going on in the States, over in Japan, they had a similar evolution when it comes to their animation style. At some point, a medical student named Osamu Tezuka happened to make movies and comic strips with a distinct storytelling that focused on the threat and celebration of the nuclear age, while also utilizing a specific art style that wasn't highly detailed due to not being trained as a formal artist. His circle of fans and collaborators grew, and then they started to make movies and comic strips like his own that take similar themes and tropes. Ironically, Tezuka's source of inspiration came from Disney films, which he meticulously studied on his own to create his own style. That's why at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. The word cartoon was featured in a Golden Age short the same way Disney, Warner Brothers, and Fleischers would use music in their titles like Silly Symphonies or Merry Melodies. It eventually caught on, and suddenly people were using animated films inversely with cartoon. The same applies for anime, where in Japan, it's just a shortened word for animation. The same way TV is shortened for television, but nobody freaks out when we use it inversely. And then something similar happened to me years ago when it came to the word adaptation versus adaptation. Seriously, go back to my Cat in the Hat review, check down the comment section, and see how many people have to call me out for using adaptation, even though that word is perfectly fine. Adaption. I'm serious, it's in the dictionary. The same happened for the word anime. In Japan, people do use it inversely when referring to American cartoons. The problem with this argument is that it's a stereotype. When we make stereotypes about people, places, or things, we make shorthanded assumptions that allow us to see the world in a certain way. Since mentioned before, it's impossible to deny that both cultures have different popular trends that are utilized differently. Therefore, the first thing to come to your mind will get clumped together into one word. However, I'd like to think that because there are artists that like to tell different stories while taking qualities that are similar to the ones they are trained in or find influence from other media, the same way Tezuka was influenced by Disney. The same goes for American animators who find influence in Japanese media. And this is why I bring up Avatar: The Last Airbender last. A lot of people get in trouble for calling it anime, but when the story honors the Japanese style in a way that tries something new, I can go as far as to say you shouldn't get upset if someone decides to call it a cartoon, anime, or vice versa. So at the end of the day, if you refer to anime as cartoons, that's cool, don't be a jerk about it. But on the other side of the argument, if you're going to refer to Japanese animation as anime and American animation as cartoons, guess what? Don't be a jerk about it. It helps when you have open discussions to squash misconceptions and learn something new about the other person who thinks differently from you. There is no hard feelings for me calling anime cartoons, because cartoons are used as a term that defines animation as a whole. It acknowledges that it's an art form that covers different styles, and it can allow sharing of said styles. It's a great word. I love the word cartoons. I much rather call my show the Cartoon Palooza than the Animation Palooza. That just wouldn't look good on a coffee mug. Or maybe I should call the show Animatrocity. That's something to think about. Of course, this brings me to my question for today, which is the question in the editorial. However, if you want to submit a video response as opposed to simply comment, you can do that as well. I could even use it in another video in the future. Now, I'm Joey Tedesco, and thanks for watching this editorial on the Cartoon Palooza.